Hey, I'm just reading it. I thought that was for everything.
As soon as Mr. Rooney tells us we're live, we will. Oh, we're live.
Okay, yeah. And we're waiting for Judith to hop back on too. So we are have the privilege of having both members of our library join us this evening, the RCS Community Library, and we'll allow Judith to introduce the candidates, who will each have an opportunity to address the public. And then after they've completed, we'll have our board candidates, our potential board candidates, also present, make a statement to the public. So Judith, may I hand it over to you?
Absolutely. And since I missed the first bit of that sentence, are you doing the meet the candidates first or the budget presentation first?
You are welcome to do your budget presentation or meet the candidates first, whichever you'd like.
Let's meet our candidates since they're so fantastic. So the first one I can see on my screen is Lori. So Lori Dickerson, the floor is yours.
And you have to unmute, Lori, which is in the lower left-hand. Yeah, great.
Sorry about that. Hi, my name is Lori Dickerson, and I've had the pleasure of serving on the board for, I don't know, I think around 6 years. And I've been serving as the secretary. It's been a pleasure to work with everybody, including the staff and Judith in that capacity. And I have lived in Selkirk for 38 years. My husband and I have raised 3 children here who all went through RCS. And in that sense, I just want to thank the board for your service and creating a lovely environment for, at least for my family, for sure. I don't have a real agenda. I just want to continue to help the library be an integral part of the community. And I hope to that end that's what we end up doing.
Thank you, Laura.
I work in Ravena. I'm a pediatric physical therapist and don't really have anything else to say.
Excellent, thank you. Debbie, you're next on my screen.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, it was going in and out of mute and on. Sorry about that. My name is Debbie Agne, and I actually moved back to New York about 5 years ago from Arizona. And I got to know this area a little bit better through the library. My daughter and I spent a lot of time in and out of there using the programs and getting to know the community again. I have a lot of family back here, and in fact, my mother was part of the first graduating class of the brand new RCS high school in 1964. So I have that legacy behind me. She talked about it a lot, and I have all her school books and stuff like that. And I've gotten to know the staff and really enjoyed the programs. And I have become friends through one of the book clubs that I'm in through the library with one of the current board members that is leaving her position. And the way she talks about the board of trustees got me very inspired to want to become a board member. And so that's why I would like to be a candidate. And I am a retired social worker from Arizona. I also have degrees in both business and accounting, and I feel like I would be a good asset to the board, and I would like to really see what I can do to help out. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Audrey?
Hi, Audrey June, and my husband and I have lived in this community for about 21 years. We've raised 2 boys who have gone through RCS school district and have enjoyed the community very much. I'm running for the library Board of Trustees to be part of our library. It's a big part of our community. It has great vision, and it works well with our children, our teenagers, our adults, everybody in our community. And I just would like to be part of that growth and to see what we can do to continue making it even a bigger part of our community. So.
Great. Thank you, Audrey. And Antonio.
You're muted, Antonio.
All right. Can you hear me now? All right. My name is Antonio Booth, and I'm the co-pastor of the Riverview Baptist Church with my wife and Reverend Dr. Roxanne Jones Booth and Pastor Reginald Graham. And I've served on the library board for 7 years. 4 of those years, I was the chairperson of the board of trustees at the library. So I've seen it develop and transition from having a using space with the village office space and to getting its own building and leasing that building and purchasing that building. And so it's been an exciting time. And even through the process of having us to hire a new library director, do strategic planning. So that's been a fun time. And then I took some time off after being on the board for 7 years. And now I'm the president of the Upper Hudson Library Systems Board. So I wanted to come back on the board because I'm excited about what the RCS Library, Community Library contributes to this area. And I'm also excited because I know it brings value to this area. I always tell people that there are about 3 things that bring value to this area. For the library is one, because we have a vibrant library. The school district, because we have a pretty good school district here too. And the third thing, the parks that we have. So I decided to come back and join again and work on the board and continue to support the mission of the board and what's happening, and also to see if we can expand our Wi-Fi access to various parts of the community too that might be inaccessible. So that's why I decided to return on the board again. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all. So as you see, we have 4 candidates. There are 3 openings, 2 of which are 3-year terms, and 1 of which is a 2-year term. So we really appreciate all our candidates, and thank you guys. So I'm going to now share my screen so I can click through our slides here. Share present now. Entire screen. This. Share. Okay, and slideshow from the top. Okay, so thank you all for the opportunity to present tonight, and a special thanks to the school district. The administration team is fantastic. I have 1,000 questions this time of year, and I always get quick answers. Starr, you are well named. When we met in this forum a year ago, the library was coming off a 12-week mandated closure. We were excited to be reopening, and we're happy to say that since last June, the library has been open for browsing and technology use 6 days a week with 0 associated with COVID cases. We've always liked to think of ourselves as the community's living room. This past year, we literally and figuratively took out the sofa and the armchairs, and like everyone else, reimagined a lot of what we do. We moved our activities outside. We had story times in the park. We learned about raptor rehabilitation. We had an outside sidewalks obstacle course, and anything else we could figure out how to do outside, we did outside. Then the upstate New York weather caught up with us. We and the rest of the world jumped on Zoom. This is an ASL class. This is our Spice Cooking Club. And yes, we have both story times with Santa. You see the special guest there on the right. And story times with toddlers. Works surprisingly well on Zoom. This month, we are further extending our hours, and we're operating with staff working from the building 100% of the time. Looking to the upcoming fiscal year, we're anticipating bringing back in-person, in-building programming, further expanding our hours and getting to a point where everyone feels comfortable returning back to that second living room. Our budget for the coming year includes a 1% increase in the tax levy. We did no increase last year, and to absorb the expense increases past 2 years, we are doing a one-time $16,201 transfer from reserves. That the tax levy of $602,119 and some other small income sources come to a total income of $633,850. Due to the real property assessment, our tax rate is decreasing for the residents of all the municipalities that we serve. Our first expense line is for library materials. The increases here are driven primarily by increased cost from publishers and from an increase in the demand for e-content. So you can see here that in 2020, residents of the RCS school district downloaded over 20,000 items. Those are primarily ebooks and audiobooks. Because of COVID, we only circulated 31,000 physical items. So roughly 40% of the items that were borrowed from the library were borrowed digitally. And we're trying to keep the spending in this area lockstep with the circulation. Next area is facilities. We make a bond payment to the school district every year on the purchase of our building. So thanks, guys. This past year, our primary facilities projects were regrading our main entryway. That's the upper right photo. It used to be that it was only wheelchair accessible from one direction. It is now accessible from any direction in the parking lot. So you don't need to go around cars to get to the curb cut for accessibility for strollers and wheelchairs. We replaced a number of our exterior doors. We had a couple doors that you could see daylight through, one that was rusting from the bottom. So it's a great improvement of our energy efficiency. And we also installed bipolar ionization technology in our HVAC system. That is a technology that reduces viruses and other contaminants in the circulating air. Like all public service oriented organizations, our greatest expense is salaries and budgets. The library is committed to paying a living wage. The ratio of the hourly wage of our lowest and highest paid employees is 2.3 to 1. And all our wages exceed the MIT living wage calculator guidelines. This past year, the majority of our programming budget went to creating make and take kits for at-home projects. We distributed over 1,000 project kits. The week we did Baby Yoda, it was almost like we said the Beatles would be at the library. Those Mandalorian fans are highly enthusiastic. This coming year, we'll be continuing take and makes and adding back the in-person programming. Our last category is kind of the catch-all, professional development, the CPAs who do our financial statements for us. And none of those things are particularly photogenic. So I threw in this picture of one of our trustees demonstrating our curbside service, which will continue throughout the year for those who desire to utilize it. I very much doubt that anyone who's tuned in to this presentation needs a reminder to vote, but here it is nonetheless. Thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Judith, I have a question. When you say that the curbside pickup will happen throughout the year, do you mean for the rest of this year or all into 2020? You know what I mean?
Right. So we are planning on offering it for as long as the demand for it continues.
Okay.
We found that both folks who perhaps are physically find it challenging to come into the library use it. We do, you know, it's hard for you to get out of your car. We're happy to bring your books out to you. And then there are still folks who, for various reasons, aren't comfortable coming into the building. And for as long as that persists, we'll also be happy to do curbside service.
All right, thank you to Judith and the candidates. So you're welcome to stay if you'd like. And what we're going to do now is, as per required, we're going to present our 3-part budget through a component of the budget hearing, and then I will introduce our 3 Board of Education candidates who will each take a moment to speak. So Joanne's 3 to 5 minutes. Is that what you said?
Fred is going to pull up my presentation. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Again,
Can you see that okay? I want to make sure because we did a test run. Good? Okay, thank you.
okay, Fred.
Sorry.
Okay, and the budget hearing is a requirement that we have to present to our budget. It has to happen between 7 to 14 days prior to the budget vote. As we remember, last year was a bit crazy. So this year we are still a little crazy, but not crazy like we were last year with a total absentee ballot. So I'm just going to go over some of the highlights right now. Sue has already mailed out some of the ballots. They are higher than usual. We've mailed out over 200, and we started getting some back. So I don't think we've had a huge influx of people wanting them, but they're still available. You can get an absentee ballot up to 7 days before the vote, and they have to be returned by 5 o'clock that evening. Again, we're going to be offering in-person voting. We're going to adhere to Department of Health guidelines. We'll do social distancing, make sure that the equipment we use is clean, et cetera, et cetera. One of the requirements from the state of New York is that I present the budget to you in a 3-part format. That means I have to break it out as capital, administrative, and program. I'll go into some of that, not in any great detail because most everybody knows it, but for some of the public that may be watching, they won't. And again, it's an opportunity for the school district and the library to present to our residents, what are they going to be voting on this year? So this is our opportunity. You want me to say next, Fred? Oh, okay, we got it. We're all there. So I just want to give it to you a budget to budget spending or a comparison, which is the expenses of the districts. That's really what our voters are voting on. And I want to tell them about how we're going to pay for it. You'll see that in another slide. But in the current year, the expenditure program we're putting out is $48,637,301 or 031, but that's a transposition. I apologize. It's 301. And the adopted budget this year is 48.6. We're reducing expenditures in the 21-22 by about $40,000 overall, less than 1%. And our tax levy is again going to stay the same for the second year in a row. Revenue. This is a very interesting slide. We had a lot of talk at the state level when the budget was passed. The state has made some promises that we will bank on now because we know right now. But the future promises we will take with a grain of salt, and we'll continue to evaluate those as we go through the 21-22 school year. And as we develop the 22-23 budget, we'll see what the promises if they come to light. One of the promises has been is that the foundation aid will continue to be increased so it's fully funded, which means we should get another $175,000 in each of the next 2 years. But again, I would be very hesitant to bank on that in future years. We shall see. But as I go through the revenue as in comparison for 21 to 22, again, our property taxes are the same. The pilot payments are up. That's a schedule. If we get a new pilot, it would be reflected here. We don't have one right this minute. Our local revenues are down. Those are things like admissions to the swimming. We get some refunds for prior year services, miscellaneous revenue. We do get some tuitions from other school districts for some of the students that attend Ravena. Fund balance. Last year, we appropriated $1.6 million in reserves and fund balance, and now this year we're going to reduce that to 1.3. And again, then it breaks out your foundation aid, your BOCES aid. Those are services that we engage in BOCES during the year, and we get aided on them in the following year. There's always a big talk about the expenditure-driven aids. There's always a push from the governor's office to eliminate those and just make them static. Again, we're very happy to report they are still going to be based on what we spend, and that's transportation, BOCES, high cost, private excess cost aid. The private cost aids and the high cost aids are money that we get back for some of our special ed programs that cost more than the threshold for our district. Transportation's a big one. That's a little bit lower because I still don't think we didn't expend everything we wanted to or we budgeted this year. So we're going to drop that a little bit. Building aid is pretty much a static. You'll see that change as we do a final cost report for phase 2. And then in phase 3, that might change a little, but not too drastic. And our federal aid, that's our Medicaid funds. We get money back from Medicaid for the services that we provide to our Medicaid eligible students. And here comes the 3-part budget. We are required to break this out for you. Administrative costs, that would, in each one of these components, salaries, benefits are broken out separately for each one. The administrative component is, again, administrators, the Office of the Superintendent, the Board of Education, the business office, some of the BOCES administrative costs that are not program related, supervision, the principals, things like that, curriculum development, some of our professional development would be an administrative cost. A piece of that's also in program. Program is just that. It is everything that we spend to get our kids into our school and educated. So it's transportation, it's all of the programming, it's all salaries, benefits. And you'll see in every school district, program is going to be your highest expense. And it's everything. It's regular education, special education, all pupil services, guidance, everything that it is, technology. And then the capital costs. The capital costs are our debt service, tax certiorari proceedings. We have a budget line item for refunds for prior year tax claims. It also includes all of O&M, all the salaries that go in that. And the biggest part of that is usually our debt service. So, and then if you break it out, sometimes it's nice to see it in a really snapshot picture. You're going to see that in the administration piece. Supervision, curriculum development is one of the larger pieces. The legal, insurance, BOCES admin. And you remember that BOCES admin cost is the portion that each district has to pay for the BOCES capital projects. We don't have any say in that. They tell us what it is and we have to pay it. And it includes the business office, but it kind of, you get to see it in color in a pie chart. And I think that's a nice visual. I hope I'm not talking too fast. I'm trying to hit my 5-minute limit. And then I broke it out a little bit so you could kind of see the numbers. So you can see the difference. What I showed you before is just the current year. And what you can look at here is the difference between like the major line items. You'll see any of the increases. We put in an increase for a FTE in the business office. You see most of those increases are all driven by contractual obligations. So programs are our largest piece. Again, some of it's small. When you look at the narrow instructional media, it's a little small, but again, it's a nice visual to see what that $37 million is made up of, okay? And again, here's where you can look at some of the difference in expending in the program from the current proposed budget to the adopted budget. And I think some of the bigger expenses, we had several retirees in the instructional field staff this year, as well as we had a large reduction in special education because we had several students age out of their program. They either graduated, and in our case, most of them did graduate, and that was a reduction for us as well. And then if you look at instructional media, pupil support services, again, any of those increases or decreases are due to contractual obligations. They may have it may be supported by a retiree if there's a reduction there. Extracurricular athletics, that also includes our drama club activities, things like that. Transportation, a little lower. We tried to fine tune some of our materials in that code. Interfund transfers, we did increase because we never have enough in that code to cover the school lunches. And what we have school lunch, usually a deficit. And then our summer special education program. Our general fund has to support whatever the 2-month July and August program costs us, our general A fund has to support that for 20%. The costs go up sometimes. We don't have a lot of control over it. So we looked at what we spent in the last few years, what we're anticipating in spending, and we know we're going to have a higher cost of what the 20% in the general fund is going to be. So that represents that $85,000. And again, benefits are exactly what benefits: health insurance, everything, workers' comp, unemployment, everything. Again, here's your capital. You'll see that, again, debt service makes up the largest share usually in our capital program. You have material and supplies, upkeep and repair. It's another one of those areas in O&M that is kind of hard. If we don't continue to invest in our infrastructure, that's where things can get behind us. So we try very hard to use the building condition survey, use our capital fund. We have capital reserves for the future betterment of our school district. But again, this is our capital portion of the budget. Again, the numbers and salaries, operations, and maintenance, we are asking to increase the staff by 2. We have a slight increase for furniture and equipment. It's more equipment for Bill's staff. And again, contractual operating costs, to give you an idea, that would be the telephone, the waste removal, all of those things that we need to pay, the rent for this office. You go down to upkeep, repair. It's those things that we're trying to budget for, all of those things that we know we have to spend every year to make sure things stay safe, stay well operating, and that's upkeep and repair. Training and travel. Material and supplies would be all the cleaning supplies. Even though it went down a little bit, we have enough money in those codes to cover what we need for our pandemic expenses. We definitely bought a lot of supplies this year. We're still buying more through this year to take us into next year. And we also have some CARES money if we need that to spend in the next year's budget. That's not reflective in this dollar amount. And there's your debt service and benefits.
Joanne, can we just stop for one quick second? The judgment and tax refunds, isn't that covered under the tax certiorari thing that we did in the other slide?
Yes, it can be, Bray, for those larger items, but we also carry a $30,000 line item in the general fund. And the difference being, if we have a real year challenge in assessment where it's the actual tax year that it is, we would pay for that from the general fund. And if it was something that was due to a tax certiorari and a claim from prior year, we would pay it generally from the reserve, unless it was small and we had it in the A fund in that line item.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Again, the tax impact, our tax cap calculation would have been at 2.89%. We're going out with a 0% tax levy increase for the 21-22 school year. Again, I like to remind everybody, especially the people that are listening, that we don't have a final tax rate in numbers until we get our assessments. And our assessments aren't generally due until mid-July, August. That's why we approve our tax warrant in August. And again, if the assessments were to remain the same right now today, there would be a 0 impact on the homeowner's tax bill. If assessments went down, that could result in somebody's tax bill going up. But generally, our assessments go up a little bit. Equalization rates play a part in that. But again, we never know this information until July and August. So it's kind of crazy that we put a budget together and make some assumptions based on the taxes. But we know it couldn't go up more than 2%, and our tax levy is at 0. And then I would say, what else are we voting on? Well, there's 2 additional propositions that'll go up to our voters this year. One of them we always do is our bus proposition this year based on usage. We're only going to buy, I say only, I don't say that to be smug. We're purchasing 4 large buses. They're going to be gas powered. We have a nice assortment. We have propane, diesel, and gas buses. There's a reason for each one. Propane is your clean fuel. Diesel is a strong engine, and gas, you can go further with those because they hold more gas, a little bit better gas mileage. So the total cost prior to any state aid is $458,000. Again, the cost per bus is $114,598. The other thing we're going to ask our voters to vote on is to amend our capital reserve proposition. Several years ago, the voters established a capital reserve, and it had a limit of $5 million. And in the capital reserve, you can only make deposits to the limit that is stated in your referendum. So way back when we established that in 2014, the limit was 5 million. So the district did put 5 million in that. We can't go any higher than that. We counted the 1.2 million that was already in there when the voters established it in 2014. Since then, we've added 3.8. We can put any more money in that legally unless it's approved by the voters. And I would like to be clear to let the voters know that we cannot take money out of the capital reserve unless the voters vote to take it out. So it's like a safety net for our infrastructure when we go to do the next capital project and a couple of years from now, this money can be used to offset the local share so the project would cost the taxpayer close zero to nothing, or very small amount for the local share. And we are asking the limit be raised to 8 million. Again, that's nothing. We have to increase it tomorrow. We are asking that we put 500,000 in there. We have that in our unassigned fund balance for this year. And then if there is money at the end of any given year going through 2031, it's a 10-year program. Well, that means that we can put it in there. We can't exceed 8 million, but we could put an additional up to $3 million in that reserve. And again, the voters have to vote to fund it. They also have to vote to spend it. We're also going to tell our voters that there are 3 open seats on our RCS Board of Education. You're going to get to hear from those people this evening. To let you know, we have Howard Bray Engel, Kristen Hill Burns, Mr. Reveille are up for a new seat on the Board of Education to extend another 3-year term. Also, as part of that vote, we all know the library budget, and you've met, you presented the library budget and the 3 library trustees. There's 4, you'll only be voting on 3. So that's what you're going to be voting on. But the other question, what happens if a school budget is defeated? If a school budget is defeated, the school district has 2 options. We could either bring it back in-house, scrub it up, cut some spending, go back out with a budget, and ask our voters to vote on it again. One of the limits, though, or you could do that, and then you can do whatever tax increase you want. But one of the things is if you defeat a budget twice, you cannot increase the tax levy more than what it was in the previous year. We're already there. We're not increasing our tax levy. So if our voters were to vote a budget down, we could go back and ask them to vote on, make some adjustments to revenue and or expenditures and re-vote it, or we could move right to a contingency budget. And that would mean that we would eliminate all of the equipment and most of the non-essential supplies. You would see a reduction in what we put up, what we spend. But again, very proud to say that we've always passed a budget since I've been here. It makes me happy. I don't think there's been many that have failed here at all in Ravena. So we have a community that is well vested, interested in what we do for our students, and our success in passing budgets is it shows that. So we're hoping that we have no problems again. Anybody have any questions? Thank you very much.
So the print version of Ms. Moran's excellent presentation will be hitting people's mailboxes within the next week. And the Chalkboard Budget newsletter is at the printers right now, and it'll be mailed out, ideally hit everybody's boxes. And it's nice, concise, color, easy access. We will be using the voting machines this year. After some initial wrangling, we were able to secure the ability to use the Albany County elections machines, which is much more helpful to us. So it'll look a lot like any other public election. People walk in, bubble, slide it through the machine, and go. So. Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Moran. So without further ado, Howard Bray Engel.
I guess it's my turn. So I'm Bray Engel, and I'm just finishing my 10th year on the school board. I'm a lifelong educator. This is my 30th year in public education. So I'm doing this to keep things rolling as best we can. I've got 3 kids in the school system. My daughter, the oldest, is graduating this year from Ravena and headed off to Syracuse University in the fall. My son is a sophomore, Brady. So he's got 2 more years, and then we got to kick him out somewhere too. And then my youngest, Charlie, you might notice him on the football field. He's bigger than all the coaches. He's a 7th grader in the middle school. And again, I'm doing this for my kids, but also for all the other kids and the rest of the community. I think we've got a great place going here. I've been here my entire life. I went to school here. I graduated here in '88. Good year, right, Bill? And I've stuck it out this long. So we managed to clean up a bad situation about 10 years ago, and we're not going to let it go back there. So that's why I'm here. And I hope you all come out and vote on the 18th, I believe it is. And I'll turn it over to whoever's next.
Thank you, Bray.
Well,
Kristin Hill-Burns.
Hi. Again, my name's Kristin. I am also a graduate, along with my husband, from the RCS school district. We have 2 boys, one that is also in 7th grade, and a little guy who is actually at the Little Feet daycare in our town also. I will be running again. I believe this will be my 3rd term, so going on my 7th year on the board. Kind of to follow in Bray's footsteps. I just want to be an advocate for not only the community and to focus on what's best for our children. That's kind of why I'm doing it. That's why I want to stay on the board. I'd like to be a voice and do what I can to get the communication out to our town when needed, and to bring it back to the district and to the board, and just kind of want to stick with it. And I enjoy my fellow board members. I think we collaborate well. I think we communicate with one another well, and working with Dr. Bailey and Fred and Joanne and Sue and everybody else, it's been great. So like Bray said, come out and vote. May 18th.
Thank you, Kristin.
Yeah.
And Mr. Reveille.
Hello, my name is Teddy Revelli, and I have been an RCS school board member this will be my 9th year, so I will be running for my 4th term. I have lived in the RCS school district for about 20 years. My wife, Rebecca, is an RCS graduate, and we have 3 children. Lauren, who is in 11th grade. I have a son, Eddie, who is in 9th grade, and a son, Cody, who is in 7th grade. So I have 3 kids throughout the district, and I have a lot of free time to myself, so I thought I would stay on the school board for another 3 years because I get bored on Wednesdays. But no, in all honesty, we've come a long way in the school district over the last 9 years, and it seems like we have things going in the right direction, and just want to keep things going and advocate for our kids and go from there. So come out and vote, and I won't keep you any longer. Thank you.
Thank you to each of you. And as a few of you have mentioned, Election Day is, and the budget vote is May 18th, 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. in the high school gymnasium. There'll be lots of signage on the campus to get people where they need to go. And also for those people who have completed the absentee ballots, we have placed the ballot box, will be placing the ballot box back outside of the district office, similar to what we did last year. Because all buildings have a little bit different level of COVID security right now. We want people to be able to easily access that when they drop off their ballots. Ballot boxes are emptied every day. So it should be fine. Joanne, what were you going to say?
That the ballot box is up now, and it's at this office, and it's on the website. So it's attached outside the courtroom entrance, and we didn't put them up all over the district. We didn't think we needed to, but it is up now, and it is there for the public to drop off their ballot if they'd like.
All right. Thank you all. And we appreciate the library folks hanging out with us. It feels like we're in a meeting. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Brian, are we going back into executive session now, or do you want to go after the meeting?
Either way, it's up to the board what you'd like to do.
Let's go after the meeting.
All right.
That'll encourage us to make it quicker.
Okay. So, okay. We are going to call the Wednesday, May 5th, 2021 Board of Education meeting to order. And everyone, please silence your electronic devices, and we will have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Bye, Bray.
Yeah. No, it's your turn this week, Kristin. Thank you.
Okay.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes. Okay. Additions and deletions to the agenda since Friday mailing.
Yes, for business considerations, we will be deleting 6.9 tonight and bringing it back to another meeting. We will be adding 6.15, which will be an interim confidential secretary. Personnel considerations, just for 7.2 and 7.3. For 7.2, I'm going to be adding another volunteer coach. 7.3, I'd like to, we're going to be adding Jonathan Walter as a BOCES sub. New additions for personnel considerations, 7.7, we'll be extending our short-term subs end date now to the end of June. And 7.8 will be a new custodial worker.
Make a motion for the additions?
Yep. Thank you.
Aye.
Mr. Engel, Mr. Burns, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I need a motion for the acceptance of the minutes of the April 21st, 2021 BOE meeting. Mr. McFerrin. Second. Mrs. Klein, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have no awards, honors, recognitions. We have no hearings and petitions for the first session, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I need a motion for one or all of the business considerations.
Make a motion for all 6.1 through 6.15 minus 6.9 that we just took out.
Okay. Second, Mr. McFerrin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Bray, when we do these motions, we got to hold out 7.2 because I can't vote on it. So we got to do it separate.
Okay. I'll make a motion for 7.1 and 7.3 through 7.8.
Okay. Do we have a second, Mr. McFerrin? Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, motions pass. Need a motion for 7.2.
So moved.
Mr. Engel, second. Mrs. Burns, any discussion?
Not sure about this one.
Me either, sir.
I'm putting you on there, you pay for nothing. Double your salary from the board. What are you volunteering for?
Modified baseball. I mean, I could get on my soapbox and discussion and try to figure out why we have so many phys ed teachers that don't coach sports, or how we can't get anybody to coach, a lot of our sports. And I think you mentioned in one of our meetings before, Bray, that we need to do a much better job with hiring teachers that are willing to coach, because we struggle badly trying to get people. I mean, until the last minute, they couldn't find people to coach track. They couldn't find people to do baseball. They couldn't find people to do multiple sports. And it becomes a burden, I think, with the school district. I think it's almost going the same track as bus drivers. You can't find people to drive a bus. You can't find people to coach sports. And to me, it's frustrating because I think, as you know, like our phys ed teachers take classes to coach sports. You have to take 3 classes when you get your degree, but we have 9, I think, phys ed teachers don't coach sports.
they don't need to take any classes because it's part of their teaching degree.
Correct.
But it's not just here; it's everywhere. We've got retirees coming back to fill positions because we're not getting people to coach. A part of it is we're not hiring a whole lot of new people right now. The teachers' population is aging, and it's tough when you get older and you have a family to commit that much extra time for the little bit of money they make. I get it. I do. I don't know how we get more without hiring more teachers, and we don't have the vacancies to fill it. So,
agree. I mean, it's like you said, sometimes with the amount of hours these coaches put in, after you take taxes out of their coaching check, some of these people are making $1 an hour, $2-3 an hour. They don't do it for the money. People are coaching because they like to coach and they like the kids, and they don't want to let the kids down. So, but that's it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Oh, I abstain.
Why was it, Teddy? Why was that a vote? Isn't it usually an informational item?
No, you remember 2 or 3 meetings ago, we moved all volunteers to a vote.
Gotcha.
That was something that was recommended from our legal team, our lawyer team.
Before that, it was informational, though, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So 8.1 through 8.3 are informational items only. 9.1, I have nothing to report. Any other school board members have anything they would like to discuss? Go ahead, Mr. Engel.
So I just want to throw out there again with the budget being voted on the way it is, that I still have a concern about going out at 0%. I'm sure nobody in the community wants to hear about raising taxes. I'm one of them because we pay enough in taxes, but this is kind of an opportunity where maybe we should be putting some of this funding toward the things I've been mentioning for a long time, working toward the trades, building a building trades or some kind of program in-house that we could use for our community. I know a couple other people have mentioned it. I don't know what else to do other than keep mentioning it, and hopefully someday we're going to find a way to incorporate electrical, plumbing, welding, auto mechanics, whatever, back into our schools. And I get we don't want to raise taxes, especially in this atmosphere. People have got enough to worry about. But if we can do it, maybe with at the end of the year when there's extra money, instead of dropping it into that building fund, maybe then we can start thinking about next year and how we might do that. I don't know. I mean, 10 years we've been trying and we haven't really gotten anywhere with the trades programs. And I'm at a loss because you can't find a good tradesperson sometimes. I mean, try to get a plumber, an electrician, or a mason on the phone to do work for you. We know we've been working on an electrical for how long we've been trying to get somebody to come do work. And they won't return your calls because they're so busy. So I don't know how else to do it. I don't know where else these people are. And the other problem with it is, being a teacher for so many years and having the idea of college shoved down your throat, I'm just so to the point where I want people to know that not every kid's got to go to college. They need to go somewhere. They need to have additional education beyond high school. But it's very possible it could be trade school. It could be on the job, apprenticeship. I don't care what it is. There are some kids that don't belong in 2 or 4 year colleges. It's just that simple. And for us to say, well, we're going to put everything we have into getting that, because those numbers look good. I get it from the district perspective and everything. The state, everybody wants to see how many kids you got going to college. But that's not the plan for everybody. So I think we need to do something to meet those needs of the rest, that other population of ours.
I'd like to go on record and just agree with Bray because I know that there are voices in the community who are very much in favor of seeing the return of in-house trading. And I just want to let those folks know that they are being heard, and I do think it's a good idea.
So one of the questions and where we would bring this is, where are we at with, I know we just started our phase 3 construction project. So I'm assuming once we get off the ground with this, what would be our next step with our new architect to start designing or working on our next construction project? Or when would we have discussions as a construction committee or as a board as far as when we would be possibly putting another construction project out to the public for a vote. Obviously, we can't do it in May. It's too soon, but I know we have to have some kind of preliminary meetings of a wish list of things. I remember when we did the first one, we came up with $100 million worth of items that we wanted, and then they made us get it down to 30 or 35 million of priorities. But I think we had a level 1, a level 2, a level 3 of where our priorities were. So I think that's where we have to start these discussions, Bray, with our next construction project. And I think that's where this money from this capital reserve is going to be used, and then how we can advance it. But I'm not sure if we have answers for that now, but I'm sure Joanne or Brian, maybe we could see where we're at or what our thoughts are with that.
I can tell you how the building project that we're going to be finishing up by August 30th of this year started. The incubation started almost 7 years ago with a building condition survey and a list of those things that beyond maybe what the building condition was, a list of things that people believe to be priorities for the district. And then it went through construction committee and then eventually a larger scale committee and eventually to the vote, the bond vote on how we proceed with that. So we just had the building condition survey completed. And the other piece I forgot to mention is cycling it with when the debt rolls off from prior building projects. So we do have a sense of when the next large roll-offs will be, but we do have some money in our construction reserves. That's what we were just talking about. So that may be helpful to us as well. So at the soonest, we would be looking at a vote on the voters probably in May of 2022, and we have a year to plan that out. And that could be small scale project, or it could be, depending on where we are with our debt, it could be a little bit larger scale project. But so we're about a year. It does start with the building condition survey with our construction committee, who will be overseeing some of this work that's going on over the next 3 months, but also be looking into the future. So we talked a little bit about the potentiality of doing a vote in November, and it's too compact a time. But surprisingly, a year isn't that far away. Bill, you have a question?
I think I just wanted to state that, I do think that the building, the survey and building project is a vehicle, but I think it starts with the commitment. If we see in-house, trades as a part of our curriculum, that's got to be a part of our vision first, right? We have to commit to it, and then we have to work towards achieving it. If it means that we don't have the classrooms or the spaces to do it, then you do that through the building project, right? You develop the curriculum, but it starts with the vision. And I think if I'm hearing Bray correctly, and I've heard him talk about this before, I've heard other members on the board support this. I think what we would like to see is this a part of our vision, right? So that we can work towards it as a board, we can work towards it through the vehicles, like you just said, and then build towards actually bringing it in-house and realizing it.
Awesome. When we began the community forums 3 years ago, you heard resounding from the community that they wanted things to prepare students for the real world, employability, going out and discovering what's going to happen next. And it wasn't necessarily college. Since that time, every time I've presented the 5-year plan, CTEs have been an integral component of that. We've got some steps coming in through our work at the high school this coming year, and some other exploratory things in the other buildings. But facility will be the thing that helps us turn the corner, because having a room, a building, a space to do this work is what's going to make it at all possible. The one thing I'll let you know up front, the likelihood of us duplicating the types of programs that are provided by career and technical education at BOCES is unlikely. We will be unlikely to duplicate what they're doing, but there is a wide world of things that can be done in a clean room or a dirty room, a room with machinery here on site that is above and beyond what BOCES is offering now or able to offer. And if we do it right, they're willing to partner too. They'll run a BOCES program right on site here. We saw that at Mahonison. We've seen it at, what's the other school that's sponsoring? We've seen it at other various schools, but.
They just built a auto mechanic labs in Shen. So I don't know how it's related BOCES. I mean, that's something that I would leave to you guys to find out, but I know they just built auto mechanics in Shen. They built an addition off the side of their building. Mm-hmm. So they have places where vehicles go in there, get fixed, and they have some different labs there.
Yep. So this is a great, it's a great focus point for us as we do our budget presentations and our budget preparations each year. And we will do this before whoever the newly elected board members are for our 3 empty seats are done with their term. We will have gotten some CT here on site. We will have gotten it done. So
I'm going to hold you to that.
Please do.
I'm going to put it in my calendar right now. Joanne, I already put your retirement date in my calendar too from the other meeting the other day. 6 years to go.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. Thank you.
He talks tough, but he can't even see his calendar. He doesn't even have his smart glasses on.
I couldn't find them. I think it would be whatever our 7th graders year they graduate, you can retire July 1st of that year.
6 years.
Okay. All right. So we have, I guess we're in Dr. Bailey's session, or are we all done your session?
This is Teacher Appreciation Week, and we've extended that in a few ways to all of our staff because it takes all of us to be able to get this work done. So the National PTA, PTO have named this Teacher Appreciation Week, but our friends at Starr's Intergen, they're the ones who have our seniors work with our students. They helped sponsor a lunch at the high school and at the bus garage yesterday. And there were some other things going on at the middle school and Becker today with some hiccups. Our PTAs and PTOs sponsored luncheons for them. And I know that the Peter B. PTO is doing something for their staff on Friday. So we're very grateful. And unlike any other year, people have really shown their strength. And we're so appreciative for the work that they've done. This Monday, I was fortunate to participate in a press conference with the County Executive McCoy. He had asked me to come and talk about our vaccination clinic and about the fact that one of our students had won a reusable bag contest. Kylie McGinnis, she's a 3rd grader at Becker. And he never asked me about it. So we didn't talk about that. But he is going to do a pizza party for their class. So they are going to get some recognition right here at Becker. But it was a good conversation about how schools have mustered through and how we've championed for kids in spite of all the things that we faced. And it got a lot of picked up on a lot of media over the last 24 hours. But the county has been, including Dr. Whalen, who's the chief physician for the Department of Health, have, if we say we in schools have been working 23 and a half hours a day, the county has been working 24 hours a day really since this pandemic began. And we're very appreciative of them trying to support the work that we're doing in schools. They don't always understand it, but I have to say that they have worked so hard to understand the scope and complexity of the work that we're doing, and we're very appreciative of that. We have some graduation celebrations on the calendar. Woohoo! I'm going to start with high school graduation. They just updated the capacities for graduation, and they very well might change it again. We don't know. They may open it up to as many people as you'd like. But please know, every time they make an announcement about bars, they're not talking about schools. Please know, every time they talk about wedding receptions, they're not talking about schools. We are held to a different standard. As of right now, even though we've said everything's opening back up in a week in New York, to our knowledge, that is not true for schools. We still have some parameters we have to meet. So we've rented the biggest possible thing we can find, which is the TU Center in Albany. So we're not going to have any issues of capacity. Even if we're limited, we'll still be able to fit everyone who usually attends our graduations. And graduation for the high school is slated for Saturday, June 26th. We originally had a 7 p.m. time. Someone dropped out. And it looks like we're going to be able to move back to 3:30 or 4. That's the earliest we're going, just so you know. But we're going to be in the TU Center on the 26th, most likely 3:30 or 4 o'clock. I want you to know what we're facing right now, because this is going to tell you why we're not doing things in the auditorium for our 5th graders, 8th graders, kindergartners, or anything like that. If you gather more than 100 people inside, every single person who attends need to show vaccination, proof of vaccination, or a negative COVID test from a lab within 72 hours or that day with those rapid tests. It is going to be logistically very difficult to do a regular event. We will be doing all of those protocols at the TU Center. And a letter's going to go home to families so they understand they need the vaccine 2 weeks beforehand or a negative test. And all of our students are going to need it as well. We're going to arrange something to take care of our students because we don't want anybody to mess that up. Families are going to have to take care of themselves, but we will be doing everything in our power to make sure that our students get what they need in order to attend the event.
Sorry, Brian, do you mean all the students or just the seniors?
Just the seniors who attend. Actually, anybody who attends needs to be tested or have the vaccination.
Right, but I mean, is the school going to take care of getting tests for all the students or just the seniors?
What other students are they for graduation? You mean like musicians?
Like my 2 boys who would probably want to go to their sister's graduation.
That's a good
Am I going to
question.
be responsible for figuring that out, or is it school?
That's a good question, Bray. We'll know when we get closer.
Okay.
My hope, they change the rules. If they don't, what we know is we want to ensure that the seniors get what they need. We have access. Either we'll find access to some tests, we'll have someone come in and test them, we'll do something because we want to ensure that all of our kids are able to be there. And we'll think of some other ways for families and things like that. We encourage people to get the vaccine too, although no one is mandated to do that. Bill.
You said vaccination 2 weeks before. Is it only one, or do
no, they have to have
second?
Right,
completed it. Okay,
that's correct. Yeah,
we just need to clearly state that.
It will be. You're exactly right. Yeah, the good news is there's been a lot of saturation with vaccination sites right now. I mean, where it was a desert wasteland before, now it seems like every other day we're getting a new one coming out. And they're doing walk-ins now too, which is great. I think they're having more vaccines now than they are people willing to get them. So we need to probably to help with that in some way.
I think they're going to open it up to 12 to 15-year-olds too.
Yeah, and if they choose to do that, we will likely host again so that families have easier access to it. It looks like 5th grade moving up is going to be Wednesday the 23rd. And I think they have a plan that's going to be during the day so that they have like a parade where the students and families can come through during the day as a class. And then they're also going to bring the 5th graders over to the elementary school so they can wave farewell to their teachers that they may not have, or the staff they haven't been able to see, this year. Those plans aren't hardened yet, but it's scheduled for the 23rd, which is a Wednesday. And then 8th grade is Tuesday the 22nd. And their expectation is to be able to host something at the Jericho, similar to what we did with the high school graduation last year, because it's not constrained by the same parameters as everyone's sitting in an auditorium together, because everyone's in their cars. We were able to be a little bit more flexible and not have to get everybody tested before they go. We'll be sending a calendar out to families by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week we need to secure contracts with these folks before we do that. We want to make sure everything is appropriate for what we want from them. Any questions about those?
Yep. What about, there's usually isn't there a kindergarten moving up? They usually have a graduation.
So I'll let Fred talk about that.
I honestly don't know, Bill, at this point, so I'd have to get back to you. I'd have to check in with building principals on this. I've been really mostly focusing on 5th grade and 8th grade.
Yeah. They have a day that they bring in the parents and they make a big deal because they're moving up.
Sure.
And I don't know if they do the same thing for pre-K.
They usually do. So yep. I'll get some inside scoop and I'll report back.
Okay.
Thank you. I had a question last time. One of the board members asked if we could determine how many students have been vaccinated. I did speak with Albany County, and they do not have a way to track that, or they're unwilling to share that because of confidentiality issues. In other words, their kids living in or nearby, they don't have to report what school district they're in when they're vaccinated. The county doesn't necessarily know. So unfortunately, I can't provide a precise number of students who have been vaccinated. And the only other question I had last time was about teacher turnover. So, oops, I wanted to share this with you. All right, I looked at these numbers. I went into the state database. There's a website where you can look at school report cards. And I saw these numbers and I'm like, wow, it doesn't feel like it's that many. In other words, 13% means if we hired 10 teachers, one of them left in the first 5 years. And if there's 20, that if we hired 10 people, that's 22%. That means that 2 of them left in the first 5 years. Then I went a little deeper because I needed to know for sure what I was looking at. So I brought in Chalmont. I have been working at Chalmont for a year. They're socioeconomically and size-wise almost the same as us. They score a little bit higher on state assessments, but they're just about the same as us. In almost every year, they had a higher turnover rate than we did. And the state average is in red. In almost every year, the state average is higher than. So it doesn't look like we're an anomaly within schools, but I've said before, every time we hire someone, we invest in them in a number of ways, through training, through the time to interview them, the staff who dedicate the time to interview, mentors, and losing any of them is difficult. It's a pain. But at the very least, our numbers aren't that far off from what it looks like, at least with one neighboring school and with New York State. Bill?
Just a quick question. You were looking at 5 or fewer years. I'm trying to remember what we were talking about when we had this conversation. For some reason, I thought it was for teachers that were longer tenured than that were leaving, maybe going to another school district, maybe closer to home, something like that. Is that where, am I mistaken with that or not?
We had a twofold discussion. One was about tenure and being denied tenure, which is within the first 4 years when someone leaves. And those more experienced people who are beyond their probation, they are tenured, and they choose to leave. The New York State report card breaks it down by these 2 categories. So this is the best I could do for data from both us and the regional schools. But you're right, it's not exactly the data, but it's close to the data.
Okay.
I think the one reason it seems like we have more turnover is because we're considering everybody, not just teachers. I think in the non-teaching positions, probably the turnover is much higher. In the aide population and the bus drivers, and I think there's a lot more turnover there, it seems to me.
And that one is easy to track in district, very difficult to track, along with other districts. And I was going to say, we know from all of the personnel appointments when people are departing. You can see building aides who resigned or you're right, bus drivers who resign. And it's difficult for us to keep pace. We're always, especially with the transportation, we're like moving the bar or the bean over one direction and then we're moving it right back. We got to hire, we got someone who goes.
I think we also, within those populations, though, we have people, it looks like they're leaving, but they're leaving one position to take another position. So it ends up being two motions and it looks like two movements. And you don't get that in the teaching population because you get in your job and you stay there. There's not, you can't go, I think I'm going to teach something else next year. That doesn't happen. But, within the non-teaching, somebody might go from being a monitor to being a bus driver or whatever. And it seems to us like a lot more movement, probably.
Yeah, I appreciate you pulling all that information, Dr. Bailey. I know I was one of the ones that was, concerned with tenureships not being offered, so we do invest in them for a few years, right? And then if you do look at the numbers that we just saw, you can see that less than 5 years, we're losing, a decent percentage, but almost the exact same percentage with those, over 5 years, where Chalmont did not have that. They had a big disparity between those two, right? So the numbers were, obviously the newer ones were leaving, but it was much higher percentage. So it does look, a little alarming, if you look at the two together, right? So you see 13, 14%, almost the same, whether it's new or seasoned teachers, and yet Chalmont is 33% for new, but only 10% for teachers that have been there for, extended periods of time. And it's pretty consistent for us every year, right? So if you go back through that, it seems, pretty consistent over the last couple of years that we're about even. So we're losing new teachers and we're losing seasoned teachers. And that's kind of what I felt and, thought I was seeing, over the past few years. And this does show that.
Does this include teachers that are retiring? Or is this just ones leaving?
I do not believe they include retirements. I can check that, but I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think what they do, Bray, and I'm not positive, is they're using beds data. So in other words, a teacher fills out a form stating they're a high school teacher teaching math somewhere, and then they're not there on the rolls in the following year. So they just use that. You're not there, so you must have gone.
But that would include retirements because people don't fill out the beds form the following year, which would make that over 5 years look exaggerated because, in every career, when you get to the end of your career, people are going to leave.
Yeah, I'll find out for sure, and I'll share it with that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, we'll turn it over to Mr. Engelhardt.
Good evening, everyone. Today was our last day of finishing up 3 through 8 math testing. As you know, this year they reduced it pretty significantly because there is no accountability from New York State, was really to satisfy federal regulations. But I just want to thank the staff and the families and students who participated in that. We will be able to get that data and we'll utilize some of that data and try to create some trends from that. Bill.
Were you aware that there might have been an issue with the 8th grade math test? The delivery of it to student populations that don't traditionally take it?
Any specificity around that? I'm not aware. I know there was a question regarding.
So I think the honors class does not normally take the test.
Correct.
because they're not doing it, and it was stated that they needed to take the test. And when a student inquired, and it wasn't my student, but when a student inquired about it, they were told, the teacher administering it said, you take this or you take the Regents. And so it was just, I think it was a miscommunication, but I didn't know if it had bubbled up, already to you about it. But I thought I'd ask because I just heard about it this week.
Yeah, I know there was questions regarding if I take the Regents, do I have to take 3 through 8? We had a conversation with administration around that, but I'll see if there was anything more to it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Additionally, we're hoping to send a letter out tomorrow regarding regents and some information around what regents will look like. I know we've had conversations. It'll have those 4 regions that are required for us to take information around that. We're going to ask families and students to do more of a quote unquote opt-in to regions. I think Bray had talked a little bit about this at our last meeting. And it's really going to be around management because we want to know which students are going to take the regents. We're going to give them all the information regarding exemptions and their choice around exemptions as well. We're going to include a schedule for those last 2 weeks, and then some additional information around grading and some contact information. Teachers are going to communicate some grading policies. If a regent was part of a course final grade, we want to make sure that if they're not doing that, what are ways that students are going to be graded. So all of that information will be coming out, and families should be getting that information from teachers. If they have any questions, reach out to guidance counselors, school counselors around that as well. So your hand's still up, so I don't know if there's another question.
He didn't take it down. But I have a question. With the 4 regents, if there are kids that aren't in, say, and I don't know all of them, but say there's earth science. They took earth science last year or the year before, and they want to retake it this year. How is that supposed to happen? I mean, they should have signed up, or what goes on with that, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they can sign up if they want to retake it in any typical year. I don't know the nuance around, could they then take an exempt, let's say, instead
Correct.
For the second year. So I can look, there's probably a frequently asked question around that. I can look and try to get information around that as well. But last year, again, remember, the regents were canceled. So we'd have to, think about kind of if they took it 2 years ago, what would that look like? Brian, I don't know if you...
Yep. What would happen is the higher grade supersedes the lower grade. They just automatically accept the higher grade.
So this question, I guess, and maybe there's something where we're not even offering the regents this year. Maybe it's a class we're not even offering it, but somebody signed up to do it. So would they just get the exemption or put in for the exemption?
So there's only the 4 regents that, here, let me see if I can share this real quick. And again, this letter is going to come home tomorrow. Hopefully we have everyone looking at it. So our 4 regents, hold on. Can you see this okay?
Yep.
So English, living environment, algebra 1, earth science are the only regents that will be offered for this year as per federal guidance. So all of the, I'm sorry, I don't want to make anyone motion sick. All of our other global history, US history, all of these are the ones that will not be given this year. So students will automatically receive an exempt if they're passing the course. So these are the ones that I think your question is, and I want to dig deeper into that around, can they, if they were planning on sitting for it, and if they're planning on sitting for it, can they just opt into an exempt as opposed to a grade? I think that's kind of what you were talking about.
That's correct. Correct.
Okay, I'll look into that. Good question. So that will come out tomorrow. Again, I'm guessing there will be some questions. We'll try to make sure that we have as much information out as we can. At our last meeting, someone, I think Teddy, it was you, asked about numbers around UHS and AP. I do have the information because of our agenda tonight. I was wondering if it's okay if I bring it to CNI. And then what we'll do is Ms. Shackleton and Ms. Hotelling and I will share out at the May 19th meeting, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. UPK and K screenings. We are doing screenings this year. And I just wanted to let kind of the public know that we're holding those at the high school gymnasium. They're starting next week. Information went out this week regarding that. We'll make sure that everything similar to our budget, everything's labeled so families know exactly where to go. I've been working with staff to make sure that we're going to adhere to all of the health guidance around that. A thank you to the library. They usually help fund our fun fair where a lot of the registration occurs. and they're going to actually provide goodie bags to kind of like welcome students to their career as a learner. So we're happy for that. Kristin?
Just a question. You said the information went out for that. Where did it go to for families that would have kids that are going to be in the UK program? Oh, sorry, lights out in my room.
It should have been mailed home. So if you don't have that.
So I have a child that potentially, I don't know if he's going to go, but could be in that program, and I did not receive anything.
And you registered the child?
Yep. I believe I did. Register. I mean, I'm going to be honest. He's not going to go because I need him to be in there full time into things. So he's going to stay where he's at Little Feet. But I know others that do want to use it. So I'm just making sure. So it went home to families.
Letters did go home. It had all the information. It had a time slot as well, and then a map of the high school campus, just so folks know where to go to. But if there's conflict, reach out to the pre-K building, the building where your child would attend pre-K, and they'll have that information.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. The other thing I wanted to add is that we have leadership as well as teachers who are doing a visit to Coxsackie Athens tomorrow. Just to reminded me when we were talking about some of the CTE conversation, they're going to look at their library space, which is unique for a traditional library for those who have gone. And I asked the assistant superintendent if she might be able to bring him into that CTE space as well, just so that there can be some inspiration around that. So just wanted to mention that. I'm going to share again real quick. Our website, lots of great things happening. Sorry, I'm going long. April was Autism Awareness Month. So we had some great articles. The middle school had a Spirit Week. One of the days they wore blue for autism awareness, but we highlighted one of our families, the Franz family, who have two of their children in our district. And we just wanted to celebrate them and their family as we kind of think about autism awareness. Also on our website, we have, speaking of CTE, we have Emma Clerker, who placed third during a competition in her cosmetology. So congratulations to her.
State competition.
Which is great.
Skills USA, yeah.
And then also, as Dr. Bailey said, it's teacher appreciation. So we have a feature on Miss Wallace, who's our art teacher at the high school. So it's a teacher article. So please, and Miss Chris is there as well. So we would like to appreciate her as well, since she's in the picture. But please feel free to jump on and check those out. Let's see if there's anything else I missed around that. I'm sorry, I have to present one more thing. Oh, too many screens up. So this is yesterday.
He's going way over the 5 minutes.
I'm sorry, because I kept it short last time. Yesterday we had May the 4th be with you. So you may have seen a lot of students and teachers with their Star Wars gear. But today we had some, I don't know if you can hear it. These are students in Miss Rohr's Lasso class who celebrated Cinco de Mayo today. So I just wanted to share with you some of that great news. And then last but not least, I promise this is the last one, is that we wanted to let people know that this is our I think it's our second year being recognized by the National Association of Music Merchants as a best community for music education. So congratulations to us and to and to our awesome music teachers and faculty around all of the things that they do to support our kids. So I'll end on that.
That's great. Mrs. Moran, I think you used all your time up yet, but is there anything you'd like to talk about?
I want to go before Fred from now on.
I agree, Joanne.
He takes your time.
Oh.
I know it. So listen, I just have a few things I'd like to just mention. And I am going to share one screen just because Fred did, so I'm going to. Bray, you asked me last time we met about the civil housing and why is that assessment at $100,000. I thank you very much for making me do the research on that. We all learned something. It's a not-for-profit. It's a not-for-profit. There's been a litigation over it. The courts decided because there's a 581 Part A in the real property tax law that says if there is low-income housing, they are eligible for tax credits or exemptions. And on their books, because they're not for profit, they were actually showing that they don't make money. So they settled on $100,000 rather it being a negative. And right now, that's as good as it gets. If that property changes hands or goes to somebody else, it would be different. But right now, because of its low-income housing, it's based on revenue, not for profit. That's how it ended up in the court system. So I wanted to share that with the board, with you, Bray. Not the answer, not a great answer, but that's that. And it won't change. It's not going to go up right now, and it won't change unless it's changes the designation. It's no longer low-income housing. We are going to, the next time we meet, we'll have Mr. Wolf present as part of the Audit and Finance Committee. He's going to present the transportation findings, and we thought the board would like to hear that. We discussed that at the Audit and Finance Committee meeting last week. I want to share something that's really nice. A transportation person, Karen Schrader, who is working with us on an interim basis as a consultant as we search for a new transportation director. She is a gift. Our staff has learned so much from her. They did their refresher last week. We're kind of caught up, where we need to be as far as all of our refreshers, trainings. And let me tell you, that girl was so good. She did a presentation for all the staff. She took pictures of each person, showed them on the screen. It was just a wonderful event. People clapped. I mean, it just is so nice to elevate that department. They have been so great, spending a lot of time over there. They do a lot of work. It's wonderful. We did have all the bids come in. You're going to be seeing those on probably the next board meeting to sign all the contracts that came in. Right now, we're waiting for them back from the contractors. I will then take the bids. They will go to our attorney to be reviewed to make sure they're good. And then they'll come to the Board of Education for approval. That'll be at the next Board of Education meeting. I want to let you know, I think I might have said this the last time we met, we did get 2 drivers from that billboard campaign. I'm still hearing about it. It was a positive thing. I'm going to want to do that again in the 21-22 school year. It just has been good. It's funny because I was talking to one of the local next door school districts, and they're like, "You took one of our drivers." I'm like, "Sorry about that, but it is nice." And then she's like, how much did the billboard cost? So I got to laugh because all these school districts want to do it now. It's pretty funny. But and then I want to show you this amazing photograph. I'm going to see if I can figure this out. Hold on a second. I want to share my screen. Why can't I do that? Hold on. Here we go, a window. And
just give me a screen of the new vents in the high school that I asked to be painted.
That'll be the next week. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Where is that?
How pretty that grass is.
Where is it?
That is not my house.
It's on the other side of the boulders.
No, wrong. Keep guessing.
Peter B.
Yeah.
I just wanted to show you what the Peter B grass looks like. If you remember last year at this time, it was brown. And that is what reseeding the grass does. I love it. And I just wanted to show it to everybody. I couldn't be happier. They have really worked hard. Bill and Jason are really working hard. They're hitting their groove. We got to hire a couple more people. We're getting there. The grounds do show. I mean, that grass, I would have never in a million years thought that grass would rebound like that. And it looks wonderful. So anybody wants to seed, don't sod. Okay, it's beautiful. So that's all I have this evening. Helena starts with us on Monday. We are thrilled. I think we're all going to stand outside. We're going to walk her right in, and we're never going to let her leave. We need help. I have a few number of staff people doing an awful lot of work. It's historically the busiest time we have. We're winding down the payroll. We're still trying to fill open positions. It has been crazy, but I have to give a shout out to Sue Starr, to Sue Harrison, to Jan Radley, to Eileen Salisbury. We couldn't do it without them. So,
hey, Joanne, can we just make sure that we get Mr. Wolf's transportation report sent to like the entire board before his presentation? That way they'll.
Yes. Can I make it part of the board packet next time, or do you want it to go separate?
You should probably make it separate. That way it's easier for them to pull it up and read it.
No worries.
If they got to find it in the document, they may struggle.
It's very exciting.
It is?
Very exciting.
Get some questions out of the way. All right. So moving on. Anybody have any new business they'd like to discuss?
Brian's got his hand up.
Well, I'll let the board go through all their new business. Maybe you're going to talk about it anyway, so go ahead.
Okay. How about old business? Anybody have any of these topics?
Oh, wait, there is no new business? I was going to ask about public meetings.
Oh, yes.
Just so you know, I keep sending the updates when they come out from the governor. The current executive order extends the ability to hold public meetings virtually through May 19th,
yes.
which is our meeting 2 weeks from now. So that meeting can be held virtually as well. But I think the board may want to discuss what we choose to do as we close out the year, go into the summertime. We can play it by ear. We can make a change sooner than later. But I thought the board might want to have a quick discussion about that.
Brian, if we go back to open meetings after the May 19th, do we know what kind of restrictions we may have on us as far as the public attending? Like we could have our meeting but not allow public, or is that possible?
The public can be allowed. There's a cap on the number of people who can be at the meeting based on the capacity of the room. And everyone who attends needs to complete the attestation, which is it can be in print. We could choose to take temperatures at the door as well. Either way, we'll need to have someone here to check people in as they come in, but it's doable.
So Dr. Belli, sorry, Teddy, if we did that, right, so we go through the 19th and whether he extends it or doesn't extend it, I think we as a board have to decide what we're going to do. We're starting to do a lot more stuff, interacting, whether it's, our graduation, those types of things. We're having sporting events now. At some point, I think we do need to kind of start to revisit, the ways of the past and actually be in person. So if we did that and the public was allowed, would we still hold it in the library? What's the capacity for the library? So that way, if we did have public visiting, or would we have to do this in the auditorium just to give us the flexibility, just in case we had, a historic event where we actually had a large attendance?
Yeah, I can find out the capacity limits and I will let you know.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions or concerns as far as that goes? What is our next meeting after May 19th? Probably June 5th, June 6th, something around there?
No, we gotta accept the vote at some point.
That's the 19th.
June 2nd.
Oh, that's the 19th.
June 2nd.
June 2nd would then be our next in meeting, and we would potentially go to in person.
Yep. And then on June 16th, we're going to celebrate our retirees.
Okay. And then if we're going to do that in person, then we would probably have to look at doing that in the auditorium as well, I would think.
Yeah, we've got a lot.
Okay. I mean, I'm fine with moving forward with doing things that way, especially if we're going to honor retirees. I mean, I know we did it via Zoom last year, but I think it's probably better in person.
Agree.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nothing else as far as old business. Audit Finance Committee meetings are attached, and we do have hearings and petitions So they going to Zoom in? Are they going to call?
We're going to call them from the Meet, as we have in the last few meetings.
Okay.
And we have 3 folks tonight. The first of them is Christy Hoffman, and she wants to talk about parental concerns. So I've let them know that we'd be calling about this time. I will give her a ring. And Teddy, I'll put up the hearings and petitions screen here so you can read it to them. I also shared the 3 things we share about hearings and petitions. I've shared that with each of them prior to the meeting as well. So here. All right, let me call her in.
Hello.
Hi, Ms. Hoffman. You're on with the Board of Education. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Mr. Reveille is going to read the hearings and petitions. These are some quick instructions before we begin, and then you can address the board.
Okay.
Okay. So for hearings and petitions, we would like comments from individuals are limited to 3 minutes. Topics that fall properly under executive session will not be discussed in public session, including comments about individual students or personnel. Although comments will be directed to the board, a member of the district staff will respond to the petitioner after the Board of Education meeting if and when appropriate. So please, thank you for joining us, and please go ahead with your comments or statement.
Hi, I'm Christy Hoffman. I'm a former RCS middle school teacher. I'm a parent of 5 students in this district, and I feel compelled to make some concerns of mine known. So first of all, in middle school, because I worked there, it is acceptable practice to keep secrets from our children's parents. A child can identify by different names or pronouns, etc., and if they so choose, they can keep this from their parents. 2 middle school girls this past year chose to be called by male pronouns and by different names altogether, and they asked their teachers to keep this a secret from their homes. And the teachers were encouraged to do so by administration. So keeping secrets from parents is potentially dangerous to our students. There are studies that indicate that transgender youth have higher rates of suicide ideation and attempts. Children who are questioning their sexual identities need support and love from their families. Parents should have the right to provide that support to their children. Keeping secrets from parents creates duplicitous situations for our children. Instead of involving the child's parents in their questioning, the school is encouraging children to keep secrets from their parents and to basically live a double life. My second problem. Before COVID, the middle and high school buildings were behaviorally disruptive, to say the least. I think it's important for us to remember these pre-COVID problems because they have not been addressed efficiently, and these restrictions are not going to last forever. At the high school, I know kids who refused to use the bathroom all day because they walked into drug abuse there. Teachers shut their doors and locked them because they knew there was nothing they could do about the chaos and the disorder happening in the halls. Violent fighting, bursting into classrooms, this all happened a lot. Drug abuse, sexual misconduct, and violence has to be strictly dealt with by administration. Students who create unsafe environments should be put on remote learning until they can demonstrate acceptance of public safety rules. You guys want to know why your teacher turnover rate is so high? You have to talk to your teachers and your staff. The chaos of the secondary buildings and lack of strong administrative support is no secret. Third, constant mask wearing poses mental and physical health problems. Students across the country are displaying mental and physical health problems related to the mask. New York State allows patrons at restaurants to take off the mask while seated. Why should we not do the same for our kids? Students and athletes are displaying health issues like fainting, headaches, anxiety, difficulty breathing as they run around while wearing these masks. How is this safe for them to constantly breathe in their carbon dioxide? So to sum up, I have 4 main objectives here. You have to examine your administrators before giving them tenure. You have to talk to your teachers and your staff, especially your seasoned faculty and staff, before you grant tenure to administrators. 2, please address the environment of secrecy being fostered at school. Schools need to be transparent. Third, please discourage teachers from questioning children's sexuality and sexual identity. Children are impressionable. It's one thing if a kid brings this up to a teacher. However, it's another thing for that teacher to bring this up in the first place. Can we stick to the curriculum? 4, please allow our children to breathe. Please stop mandating the masks. And finally, if the taxpaying public wants to attend these board meetings in person, we want to be seen and heard. Please make these meetings in person as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Okay, our next petitioner is Donna McMullen, also wanting to address parental concerns. And I'll put the hearings and petitions back up. Okay. Should I do this? I'm mortified of dialing the wrong phone number. Special guest artist.
Hello?
Hi, Ms. McMullen. It's Brian Bailey. You're on with the Board of Education.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me put you on speaker.
Okay. I wanted you to know that Mr. Reveille, our board president, is going to do a quick statement for you about hearings and petitions, and then you'll be able to address the board, okay?
Thank you for joining us tonight. Comments from each individual are limited to 3 minutes.
Okay.
Topics that fall properly under executive session will not be discussed in public session, including comments about individual students or personnel. Although comments will be directed to the board, a member of the district staff will respond to the petitioner after the Board of Education meeting, if and when appropriate. So we will turn it over to you and you can start.
Okay, good evening. On May 3rd, 2021, Superintendent Bailey was quoted in the Albany Times-Union, stating that many of our families live in far-flung parts of the county and have trouble getting to vaccine clinics, and that a solution lies in a combination of a media and a push from our district if we want our kids back and we want to rid ourselves of these masks. Wrong. We are inundated with media coverage and have been for over a year. People are refusing this shot, not because we don't know how to find our way out of the huckleberries in our far-flung towns, but because we had more than a year to do our homework. We're not lab rats, and we are refusing unapproved medicines to be injected into our bodies. What should be constantly pushed in the media is that Mucinex and Tylenol are what doctors recommend for COVID-19 patients to use for coronavirus. Many families have already had the coronavirus and survived its common cold symptoms that lasted a day or two. Newsflash, fear is not working on us anymore. I urge you to read the FDA.gov website and fact sheet warnings associated with each of the shots. It states all of the COVID-19 vaccines are experimental and not approved by the FDA. They are merely authorized. The Food and Drug Administration does not intend to approve any vaccine until 2023 at the end of its 2-year ongoing clinical trial. So people injected with the vaccines are participants in this first ever human clinical trial. The FDA's guidance on emergency use authorization of medical products requires the FDA to ensure that recipients are informed and have the option to accept or refuse the experimental unapproved emergency use products. Wearing masks and the COVID-19 vaccines lack requisite studies and are not approved medical treatments. The past 13 months have allowed parents to educate ourselves. We learned that the virus cannot possibly know when we are standing or sitting, or whether we are in a restaurant or a school. It was proven that 99% plus of those infected survived, and states with more relaxed rules had fewer cases. New York State mandates are not supported by scientific evidence or a proof of factual analysis. They are opinions. When you illegally or irresponsibly mandate emergency medical therapies on students, such as the experimental COVID vaccine or mask-wearing rules, parents could take legal action, and you may be personally liable for any resulting harm. Under the 2005 PrEP Act enacted by Congress, pharmaceutical companies that manufacture emergency use vaccines are shielded from liability related to injuries and damages caused by their experimental agents. However, any employee, public school, or any other entity or person who mandates experimental vaccines on any human being is not protected from liability or any resulting harm. So vaccine manufacturers may be shielded from liability, but your institution is not protected and neither are you. I suggest the RCS school district comply with federal laws and advise employees and students of their right to accept or refuse any COVID vaccine or mask use. Let individuals decide what is best for them and their own bodies, since any other course of action is contrary to federal law. The RCS board is elected to do what is best for the school and our children in a learning environment, not to be their pediatricians or parents. We don't expect you to be experts in medicine or to have done medical trials and studies mandating masks and vaccines. So be very careful and do your homework like I did. Thank you for your time and for protecting the best interests of our students. I look forward to the board amending coronavirus rules related to our students and schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. And we have one more hearing in petitions.
Emily Cameron also wanted to discuss some parental concern.
Hello.
Hello, Ms. Cameron. This is Brian Bailey calling.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. You are on with the Board of Education, and Mr. Reveille, our president, is going to quickly read for you some of the parameters around hearings and petitions, and then you'll be able to address the board.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. Some of the topics here are comments from each individual are limited to 3 minutes. Topics that fall properly under executive session will not be discussed in public session, including comments about individual students or personnel. Although comments will be directed to the board, a member or district staff will respond to the petitioner after the Board of Education meeting if and when appropriate. And we will turn it over so you can begin.
Okay. So hi, I'm Emily, and I'm the mother of 5 children that go to Ravena. I'm also a registered nurse. I've been in nursing for almost 9 years. And I'm speaking tonight to be a voice for not only my children, but my nieces and nephews, and for every child, and to stand up for the right to come to school without the mask. There are 14 children between my 2 sisters and I, and we love each and every one of them deeply, as I know all of you do your own. We are here today to say enough of the forced mask mandates for our children inside the classroom. Can't you see how psychologically damaging this is to our children? Can't you see how important it is for a child to see a smile on another child's face? As Dr. Blaylock, a nationally recognized board-certified neurosurgeon, health practitioner, and lecturer states, concerns are being raised regarding psychological damage and why a mask is not just a mask. There's tremendous psychological damage to infants and children, with potential catastrophic impacts on the cognitive development of children. This is even more critical in relation to children with special needs or those within the autism spectrum who need to be able to recognize facial expressions as part of their ongoing development. The accumulating evidence also suggests that prolonged mask use in children or adults can cause harm. So much so that Dr. Blaylock states the bottom line is that if you are not sick, you should not wear a mask. You, the board, and Mr. Bailey have taken away our children's rights to express themselves and have forced them to be completely submissive. These masks are not only mentally damaging our children, but they're also physically damaging them as well. They are losing 20% of their oxygen intake with each breath they take underneath these masks. And since when do we think it's okay to have children running around playing indoor and outdoor sports while wearing a mask? It's irrational and it's downright dangerous. Evidence-based research has proven this. According to Dr. Margaret Greaves-Bryson, one of Europe's leading neurologists and neurophysiologists, states, the rebreathing of our exhaled air will, without a doubt, create oxygen deficiency and a flooding of carbon dioxide. The human brain is very sensitive to oxygen deprivation. There are many other doctors and scientists out there that have done their own research and have proven that the masks are completely ineffective against this virus. So why are we still doing this to our children? You have your vaccine available to you, and you are still forcing the mask. What does this tell you? Well, it tells me that this mask mandate and the social distancing way of life is never going away, not until we take a stand and say enough already. This way of living will never be a normal way to live. And what's so sad to me is that we as parents and you, the board, can stop this, but we haven't yet. And it's now been over a year since the start of the pandemic. It's been over a year and nothing has changed with letting up on the mask and social distancing for our kids. Let our children live a normal life. Let our children have a normal childhood, a childhood that you and I were so happy to experience. Going to kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, and high school. We were able to look at one another and see our peers' faces every day, unlike our own kids. Can't you see the wrong in this? Can't you see the wrong we are doing to our own children? Enough. The mask mandate has to stop, and it has to stop now. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. We have no other hearings and petitions. Upcoming activities, we will have our budget vote on May 18th from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the high school gym. So everyone please come out and vote. Our next BOE meeting will be on May 19th at 7 p.m. And we are going to go back into executive session, but when we come out, we will have no action that will be taken. So I need a motion to go to executive session. Mr. Engel, a second. Mrs. Klein, all in favor? Aye. All against? We are in executive session. That Bill McPherson guy, he's always a jokester.
So are we on exec or not?
Brian's still here. Just give him a moment.